We all have a story to tell. Some are just beginning, others have been unfolding for years. Welcome to the Shaman Stories podcast. Each week, I sit down with guests to explore their journeys into spirit, the challenges, awakenings, and the moments that shaped who they are today. So take a breath, settle in, and join me as we uncover the stories that lead us back to our true selves. Welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here.
So if there was anything else in the bio I missed, feel free to bring it up at any time. But, why don't you let people know a little bit about what you do today, and then we'll just kind of work our way backwards, if that's all right.
Sure. Well, what I'm doing right in the immediate future or the immediate now, the present moment is I'm the co-founder of a company in the United Kingdom called Radical Radiance. It's a 7-year project to offer soul level experiences that transform, and also to offer resources, support for people to integrate their soul into their bodies and to live from a soul level awareness and out of compassion and connection. It's a really beautiful project that it's taking most of my time right now. I'm also on my way to Ecuador in a few weeks to co-lead a retreat that I created with my dear friend Tati Davila. It's called the Embodied Heart Retreat, and it's weaving the divine masculine and feminine energies to protect and nurture our seed of creation. So we've created a retreat. This is our second one, working with the divine feminine and masculine energies. And both Ecuador and the UK are places I never imagined visiting in this lifetime, and they have become two of my soul's most loved places, where not only I enjoy, I would say mostly the land of both of these places, the sacred land, but also the people and my ancestry. We can go into this a little bit later, but I going to the UK for the first time in December of 2024 unexpectedly became this ancestral journey for me that that was so profound. And my experiences in Ecuador of the ancestral wisdom that I've studied and been a part of have woven this shift in my life. I had been one to hold my ancestors at bay, being a white man in this culture, and the racism and colonialism and many things that have been hard for me to accept, really kept me apart from them. And this past year, 2025, was a major healing in that for me. And to have my ancestors with me, having forgiven them and having them by my side, my life has changed quite dramatically. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like you mentioned, my degree is in somatic psychology. And my work is called depth integration. And so integrating expansive experiences into others' lives and being able to sustain that level of unconditional love that I've uncovered in my mostly indigenous ceremonies, and more recently in some of the ascension work I've done in the UK. has been profound in changing what I do to support everybody in standing in their sovereignty, because we need everybody to lead right now. It's, nobody's coming to save us, as many of us wish, myself included, for a long time. And so it's time for us all to stand in our love and compassion and strength, and stand alongside the creation of this of a new earth, obviously different than what we see daily and hear daily on the news and such. I'll just say one more thing, and we can kind of go backwards, I guess. But I used to be somebody that protested, and that's a very positive element of life. Protesting against what you don't like. But I found that I'm choosing now to create the alternative, and stand. And it's not easy. A lot of people talk about, living in unconditional love and compassion. It's this loving thing. It takes a lot of commitment, a lot of stamina, and a lot of courage.
Yeah. No, I would agree. It's also I was just talking, I actually gave a talk at Oracle Fest last weekend about releasing ancestral burdens and working with your ancestors, and how when we start to do that, we not only free up our own lives and take care of that ancestor that burden passed down from, but we help the entire lineage, right? We're helping our grandkids, our great grandkids, nieces, nephews, everybody down the road from carrying the same baggage that we all have. And
exactly,
like you said, a lot of us here in the West, we were taught ancestors didn't matter, right? Like most of us didn't even know who our grandparents were, let alone great grandparents or great. Like some people don't even know. Like I don't even know half my aunts and uncles out there, because they just weren't around. We've lost that connection. And I love what you said with going to England and finding peace with what was and what happened and bridging that connection, because they're not the exact same people they were in real life, right? They're in the spirit world, they're healed, they're more expansive, and they're doing nothing but waiting for you to reach out so that they can come and help you.
Yeah,
that's all they want.
Right. There was this point, and it was actually during my retreat last year in March that I was, one of the co-leaders for, that I really sensed and felt my ancestors really begging me for my forgiveness, because, like you said, they are not who they were on this earth hundreds of years ago, or even 50 years ago. And I've heard from several people that when you don't do that, your life can be really, I don't know what the right word is, more than uncomfortable, but it doesn't flow right. You're not in alignment. And so it takes a lot of courage to do that. And it takes a lot of cleansing, a lot of releasing of emotions that are mine and that aren't mine. And one of my dear friends, calls herself a cycle breaker. When we have the courage to break these cycles in our lineage, it's not a personal thing so much anymore. It's a collective. It's a collective act that affects everyone and everything. I want to say it affects everyone and everything, because when I came back to my room after that ceremony, there were wild horses on this land that we were holding. They were amazing, and there was this incredible stallion who led them all. And there were people like in the same building, I was in, and nobody heard him except me. And he was outside my room right after I got back, like, like, and I know he was like
celebrating for you.
He was. Thank you for saying that without me saying it, because
he was celebrating you.
When you know that interconnectedness, it's not a coincidence. It's not something that's, oh, isn't that cute? The horse. It's an interconnected relationship, and yes, and that I wrote it in my book, Rooted Soul. I mean, he was celebrating me, and I knew that deep in my heart, and I thanked him, and he rode off into the moonlight, and it was a beautiful experience. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I mean, and I've seen that happen for myself too. I've done ceremonies myself where something big happens and there's this huge shift of energy within myself and everything else. And I remember one time I stepped outside and then I'm smoking a pipe, just bringing myself back into this reality and just relaxing again. And coyotes start howling everywhere, dogs were going off, and it was just like this big celebration. I'm seeing my ancestors come out of the woodwork and just like, not cheering me on where they're like standing ovation, but they're just there like nodding their appreciation and their approval. And I'm still in the medicine going, okay. That's that validation part too, but the other part's like, cool. And you don't want to come from the ego side, but it's, you kind of feel kind of good. You just did this like huge, massive shift. You've not fixed all the problems, but you helped, move things for everybody. And it feels really good to be honest, but it's also nice to work on the stuff that you need to work on in yourself. That's where it starts. I didn't come from a place of trying to fix other people's problems. It was just working on my own baggage and my own self, which then led to the helping of everyone else within my lineage and around me.
And your energy shift, what I like to say, created a ripple effect of energy that those attuned beings that are so much more attuned than we are in so many ways felt it and celebrated with you. And when we human beings can arrive at that awareness, arrive at that interconnected realization, life is I don't want to say like I want to say life is magical. It's magical to when you don't believe that. Mm-hmm. Then you see how that reality is there that you hadn't connected to before, and then the magic that is inherent in life. It's not that life is magical. That's life.
Yeah.
Anyway, that I kind of stumbled there. It's just a beautiful experience as you described, and it's I'm glad you had that experience.
And before we go backwards, because I'm actually curious about the retreats you do, because I like the concept of making sure you're not just focused on just the feminine or just the masculine, because you see that a lot these days, right? Where it's really everyone's focused on the divine feminine. We often forget about the masculine, even though it's a key piece in all of us, whether you're male or female. But for some reason, I won't say for some reason, I mean, obviously because of politics and the way men have controlled everything and, push other people down, specifically women for the longest time, they need to get their power back. And that's why there's been a push for the divine feminine, but we need to find that balance with the masculine too, not just push it away and make it more injured. We want to make it strong hand in hand, like equal partnership.
Right, because obviously that hasn't been the divine masculine.
Yeah.
Just as we're sitting here, what's coming to me is like, have we ever experienced the divine masculine? Is a question that I have now, and Yes, within, of course. But yeah, the reason I think the feminine, movement had to rise, uh, um, like I said in the beginning, like as a protest against what was happening, um, both the divine energies of those qualities are what are being called on now, not a masculine or feminine. I'm a gay man, and that's important to me. But I find it interesting in even the spiritual circles how it's still labeled as a man being divine masculine and a woman being divine feminine, and that's not the point. The point is the energies are in both of us. Both of the energies are in all of us. Sorry. Um, and we could weave those qualities together, it becomes aligned and balanced, and becomes one instead of separate. Right. So go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, I guess the right way I should have worded is only focusing on, I don't like the word fixing, but healing the divine feminine, because that's been injured. You're also looking at healing the divine masculine, because that's also been injured. And I think that's what you're trying to say is we've never had a true divine masculine because it was kind of injured in its own way, maybe.
Well,
I'm trying to think of the right way to word it. It's not an easy thing to.
This is a conversation, right? This is a great conversation. I love this conversation because I don't think you can't injure that energy. It is injured in people for sure, but the energy is divine. So, like when I open myself and clear my channel, whatever you want to say, my vessel, to allow more light and power and wisdom, those divine qualities in, when I embody them, it's more than me. It's divine power is not my personal power. It's an energy that is connected in all of us. And yes, there's, as you said, there's wounding immensely in our cultures and in each person. But I don't think the quality is wounded. It's our connection or our consciousness or embodiment of it that is where we're at right now to heal within each one and with each other.
No, I agree. That's what I was trying to express. Not the.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not arguing at all. It's a great conversation of like, how do we find the word? Finding the words in spirituality is really challenging. Yeah.
That's where we get hung up a lot too. It's my wording versus your wording. It doesn't make one right or wrong. It's how can we find that common ground that makes the most sense? And what you said makes more sense than the way I was trying to express it. But exactly what I was trying to express was the way we're accessing it, the way we're embodying it. That's been wounded. That's been traumatized. That's been
completely.
Not allowed to express in its fullest enlightened divine form.
Right. And that requires a lot of surrender, that requires like meeting that energy without expectation of what it feels like. I think, it was interesting to me when so I'll go back to that ceremony when I forgave my ancestors this, and I think I can, you'll understand, I think, on this podcast especially, is that when it was like I was releasing the toxic masculine from my cells and my DNA, it felt like, I don't have proof of that, but that's what it felt like. And then this stream of light from the fire just shot into my body and just went boom, like that. And at first it was very powerful. It still is. But at the same time, it was very peaceful. And I think that quality is often not associated with divine masculine. But
Yeah, no.
it's like a knowing that I don't consciously understand. It's a know, it's like a it's a knowing, but it's not like like the man. It's
More stoic, like
yeah,
that stoic
yeah.
being able to look internally, being able to truly understand yourself and those around you, not coming at a place of pure ego and being driven to be better, knowing that if you needed to fight, you could, but that's not your desire, right? It's that I can take care of things if I need to, but at the same token,
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
what I'm capable of doing, and I don't need to prove myself to anyone, is kind of how I feel what you're trying to describe. It's that versus society where, a man is big, strong, willing to fight everybody over every, like the movies, right? Back in the 80s, a man was an action star like Rambo who had to go in and punch everybody and kill everybody.
Right.
Not looking from within and not being okay with themselves, maybe.
And it's a presence, in a ceremony that I was in the UK later that year. There was a woman who was co-facilitating it, and she said, when I'm able to really just embody it fully, she said she could just relax. She said, oh, it was this quality that she said, oh, I can just relax. I don't, my divine feminine can just relax.
It feels safe around you.
Safe. It's safe because it doesn't have any what's the word? It doesn't have any expectations, or it doesn't have any what's the word? It doesn't have any concept of right and wrong. I mean, it's everything's okay. It's like this protection, and that's what we're working with in a few weeks. It's that protective quality. And the one thing I'll say too about what you were sharing about, there is that when I was, we'll kind of go back to when I was studying the Diamond Heart approach back when I lived in Boulder. My teacher then said it's like there's a tiger, I think is the animal he used, that's there when it needs to be. Mm-hmm. That can come and go, that is forceful, but it's not prevalent all the time. I think that's what you were kind of saying, is there's that strength, and it, in that same ceremony that I was just mentioning in the UK, there was someone in the group that was actually mistreating her. And I've always been the kind of therapist who was like, oh, well, we'll just let it see how it plays out, and create a loving thing. I came in and I was like, that's not okay. And I wasn't mean, but I was very strong. And I was like, you need to stop that now. And that's something I would never have done before my experience a few months earlier. And it's not an egotistical thing, like I knew what was right or wrong. It was wrong.
Yeah.
It was when somebody invades your space without your permission is what was happening. And it was a really great teaching moment. And yet it was because it wasn't Gregg doing that. I had just opened myself in that ceremony to allow spirit to come through me. And that is what happened. And I let that happen. And it was really a shift for me. And it's not like I'm going to recreate that, because that was what happened then. But does that make sense? Like, it's that protection of what's just clearly not right. Mm-hmm. Not in a judgmental way. Judgment is the word I was looking for earlier. Not in a judgmental way, but just no. Look at what you're doing. Mm-hmm. That's not okay. You didn't ask if you could do that. So I'll stop there.
Well, I think it makes sense. And like from the way you described it, you know, you didn't run up in his face and start pushing him or yelling at him. You're just straight up, no, we're not doing that here. You need to move on. And to me, that's that stoicness that look,
Yeah.
this is what it is, and we're moving on from it now, and we're not going to have any conflict
Yeah.
because you know you're wrong, and we're going to move on.
Yeah. And I, old Greg would have looked at that a few years ago and go, oh, well, that wasn't okay for, he was too like much in his like whatever ego or whatever, but that was not the way it was at all. It was an energy that was I don't want to sound woo woo. It was
This is the right podcast to sound
right. It was the energy that was coming through me that was divine, and I do a lot of work to get there.
Mhm.
And it was right, and there was no denying that it wasn't right, and it wasn't like I made that decision. It was the thing. It was that energy. I not wanting to say myself, I was the vessel, but that energy stopped something that wasn't right,
Mhm.
and taught to it, and everybody understood it. Because it wasn't done, like you said, it wasn't done in a no, you can't do that. I'm going to spank. It wasn't that. It was like no, that's not okay.
Mhm.
And yeah. Anyway,
So
I'm really loving this conversation.
yeah, I'm glad. I just like to see where it goes, man. It's always interesting. But what got you into this work? Because I mean, going from your bio, you had a lot of stuff, a lot of different jobs, a lot of different things going on. Like, what led you down this path into this work? Was there like a key moment where something opened up for you? Was it as something as simple as I was invited to a Reiki class? I get that one a lot too. People get invited to a Reiki class and it just changes their dynamics of the world. It's actually quite common.
Yeah. I wouldn't say there was, it wasn't like a lot of people have like, near death experiences or what, it's a big thing. I would say for me, it was a progressive journey.
Hmm.
And I'm not here to plug my book, but in my book, I kind of talk about it's an intimate, inspirational memoir in that, but it's not really, it's more than my story. But basically, ever since I was a young boy, um, I revered Martin Luther King Jr. and the teachings of Jesus. I was brought up in a Mormon family. I'm not a religious person per se at all, but that quality, that's how I wanted to live my life ever since I was a little kid. And then I was always into acting and dancing, and I always wanted to really connect with the audience and to actually do stuff that was moved them, not
Hmm.
just like, oh, that was a great dance or that's a great play, but just that like they cried or they laughed or something that touched them. um and then I was in New York City, and I was during between acting jobs, I was the manager of a restaurant, and I just like was focused on my hands, and I started like rubbing people's shoulders, just like because it was a stressful restaurant right across from Lincoln Center. And then people started like getting in line. They're like, "Oh my god!" And then I started feeling like this, seeing this kind of energy, and I was like, it felt like I had to do something with it. So I became a massage therapist and learned a lot about the body, and studied the Hendricks work, which was really groundblazing at that time, transpersonal body therapy, and started working with energy. And that's when I found the Sweat Lodge and prayer meetings in the Native American ways. There was a school that was kind of not a part of, but it was really connected with my massage school in Northern California. Yeah, and then the Sweat Lodge, just wow. Sweat Lodge it still is one of my favorite experiences. Just that ability to release what no longer serves me, and to pray, and to feel that incredible expanded oneness afterwards, and enduring, but during sometimes a little harder. But I love to drum and sing, and so all my acting and my all that kind of just is interplays in all the things I did. And then I went to Boulder and got my master's in somatic psychology, and did that for a while. And then I did this 360 and did a job that didn't make any sense to me, but it was really good for my life, my material life. And then my heart started aching, and well, I don't know. It's just, if you want to hear my whole story, but this is kind of a big one, because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the ancestral thing. But so when my father he painted that Buddha. He's nice. It was amazing. And when I got too expansive, he'd be like, "Who do you think you are, big time?" It just came out of nowhere. And I was like, and it didn't make any sense to me. It was always shocking, right? So he unfortunately developed dementia, later on Alzheimer's. And during that period, I started having this really weird, so yeah, maybe this is the point. It probably is the point, I guess. It is, I guess.
Well, it's coming up for a reason. I mean, it's okay. If you're okay sharing with it, I don't mind listening.
So no. It's a great experience. So it was like some people would say, "Oh, you were possessed," or it was like I didn't have control of my movements of my body, and it would only happen for about an hour. But it was this it was kind of like Men in Black, when that aliens inside of him, and it's moving him. It was like that. It was really that spastic, and it was really that scary. And it happened a couple times at work, and I crazily drove home. Pardon me 1 second. We might need to cut this, but Oscar needs to go out here.
No problem.
Okay, Oscar.
Yep.
So I was at work a few nights, and it happened, and I crazily drove home, and it subsided. But one time, right after my father died, it happened during the day, and again, I crazily drove home because I had this naturopath who her office was a block away from my condo. So I drove home. I'm like, "Can you see me?" She's like, "Sure." So I'm really walking like this all the way to her office, and banging up against the buildings and stuff like that. And she did some needles in me, some acupuncture, and then she had this machine called the Avatar, and it measures your your body systems, your inflammation levels. Are you in balance with all your different organ systems and such? And it makes it sound when it goes on a graph on the computer, when you hold these probes and she touches them, and then it makes this sound, right? And so when she did that to me, it was like that. And she said, "I think you have a parasite." And I said, "But I don't think it's in your body. I think it's energetic." so I had that awareness, and then I was just like, oh God, now what do I do? Like, and so my massage therapist told me about the shaman who was a medical intuitive, and I had a session with him, and he said, I think you should do combo. And I didn't know what combo was. And so, Denver had two practitioners, and I found one that I kind of resonated with, and I set up a session. And so for the viewers who don't know what that is, it's basically a frog from the Amazon that is poisonous. And what the practitioner does is burn small holes in your arm, your shoulders usually, and kind of like with an incense stick or whatever, and then puts the venom in those holes. And then you die. It was, I went through like, gosh, 8 sessions? Or yeah, maybe 5, 2 and then 3 or something like that. But there was a series. And at the last one, when I really thought I was going to die, she said, and I felt, she said she saw, and I said I felt this really dark energy kind of lift and go away. And there was this just profound amount of peace afterwards. And as I integrated that, it was the realization of what we had talked about earlier, of that pattern in my family of beating you up for being joyful, mm-hmm. or for being who you truly are, that my father had experienced from his mother, and I'm sure she experienced from there. And that's where I first started to understand that, how that works, and how there is so much more to this life than, our blood tests and all that kind of our body systems that we understand from a scientific level. But the energetic level, I started learning that, of course, in sweat lodges and prayer meetings in California. But this was when it really shifted, and I knew I needed to do something, and I didn't know what that was yet. But soon after that, I quit that job, and I depth integration, when I was sitting there integrating that last session, just those words came to me. And so then I started down this path. And yeah. So yeah, I guess that was probably that big experience that turned everything around. And like I said, I didn't really understand it at first, but as I sit here now, I understand how that was the beginning of me understanding breaking cycles, the power of entities and energies that most of us don't acknowledge. There's so much going on.
That is true.
In this universe that, is going on without us, whether we're here or not, and there are forces, and there's a lot to be aware of.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. And where was I going? I wanted to follow up with for the ancestral part. I forget exactly. I'm not a biologist. I don't understand every single part of a female's body, but my understanding is shortly after they're born, they start producing their own eggs, the eggs that they use. Maybe not shortly, but within that time frame. But the DNA within our moms, or even us, she has her grandmother's DNA as part of her. Obviously, it's not just her and her parents. It's also her grandparents' DNA, because it all goes down the line, and we have the same thing. It's not just our DNA and our parents, it's also our grandparents. And then there's got to be a little bit of the great grandparents in there too. And they've proven that with science, right? So why can't we think that on a spiritual level too, that genetics, as we like to call it, is passing down flaws or issues that people might have, why
Exactly.
couldn't they be passing down the energetic flaws as well? Energetic genetics, if you will.
And that, so many of us don't believe, or so many of us believe that that's set in stone and that can't be altered or changed.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's, I think, where we're at as a species, is understanding that we do have power over that, and that when we release deep-seated emotions, that the body responds and changes as well. Um, and not just emotions, but thoughts and energies too. Uh, that's what really, I guess, when you're asking me where I am now, that's what really lights me up, is exploring that dimension of where I think we're headed in our awareness and our consciousness. Um, that we do have a lot more power, and I think I think that's come through a little bit in our culture, like with people like going to remission with cancer and things like that. How do they do that? Or like, um, yeah, there are mysteries and not and knowingness that we do have some control, and some of us don't, and but some of us do. Yeah.
And a lot of it's been proven just in so many different ways. I mean, like you're mentioning with people going through remission from cancer, part of that is, some people might use prayer. There's a Lynn
Right.
Metaggett.
Lynn Tech, uh-huh.
Yeah. She does
Okay.
the power of 8, where
Yeah.
like 8 people are all focused on one specific outcome, and it's been proven time and time again to be helping people. It's that
Yeah.
that universal collectiveness all coming together and saying, no, we don't want this. We want this to look like that. And I mean, we see it today with, going back to your initial thing with protests, like the collective gets together, states their intention. A lot of times change happens, maybe not right away, but change can happen. And so it's the same thing on that spiritual level, where we can protest against things that we don't want within our own bodies. Sometimes we might need some external help, like with entities. I deal with entities a lot too, with my own practice, having to pull them out and then send them off to. I let the lineage and my guides do what needs to be done with them. If they can get healing, great. If there's no hope to recovery or they just need quarantine, great. But either way, it's out of the person, right? That's not my call. What
Yeah.
happens afterwards? I'm just that bridge to release that person from that burden of these entities and let the spirit realm take care of the spirit realm. It's all out there. And yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, if you'd have told me any of this was real, I'd have thought you were nuts too. Like, it's just
Exactly. I know. And I think that's been an adjustment for me too, just like being seen this way, for who I truly am and what I truly believe. And yeah, yeah. There's several people who have been like, okay, that's Greg again. Yeah. But yeah, that's beautiful to hear. I really would love to hear more sometime about your work, because that's beautiful stuff. I work with an amazing teacher that, yeah, that's her job. She sends them out, and very similarly to the way you do, and it's gosh, I'm just, and I think, the one thing, I don't know where we are in time, but the one thing I want to bring up that we kind of talked about earlier was animals. And that, Oscar just left, but he sees so much, that, and he, of course, they hear too, but he senses energy so much, so deeply, that there are teachers, and I don't, I think most people, think of them as like pets or something like that, but like, gosh, they just have so much. He just really inspires me to like be more aware and to sense more of what I not quite see, but I feel, or and sometimes I'm starting to see now. I've never been a visual person. I've been very kinesthetic because I don't actually have great vision. But lately it's been that visual that he's helped me with, that senses what's around me that most people don't. And just the help that's available there too, right? The help from these guides and spirits that are with us, that I always thought I had to do it alone. And of course they don't do things for you, but they definitely guide you, right?
Oh yeah, and the I don't because I'm not sure where you fall on like which tradition or lineage with your teachers and stuff, but from the shamanic viewpoint, we're the babies on this planet.
Yeah,
Humans are just we're the babies. The stone people have been around the longest,
yeah,
then the plant people,
yeah.
and then we look at the animal kingdom for help. And they can all teach us way more than we think, and we just ignore them thinking we're better than all of them, but they all provide during journey work, getting a power animal, for example, and working with that animal in the spirit realm and learning how to heal yourself. Or I've done journeys where I'm like, I need to work on this. What should I, what could help me? And a crystal or a stone will show up, and I have no clue. I don't know enough about what crystal does what. So I'm Googling it, trying to find an image of the same crystal that I was shown. And then it's exactly what I needed, and it's getting those messages from the spirit realm of, yeah, here you go. This is what you wanted. You just got to do the work now to figure out what it is.
Well, yeah, just on my walks with Oscar every day, the animals that show up, they're always telling me something. And it's not like like you said earlier, it's not an ego thing. It's like, oh, they're telling Greg this. It's not that. It's this interconnectedness that you know, because obviously the same ones don't show up every day. Well, like some do. So I was just in the UK. We're holding this 3-day uh, experience on the estate of Blenheim Palace, which is kind of intense. It's this beautiful palace where Churchill was brought up. But the grounds there are just, I'll send you pictures of the trees. The trees are unreal, and they're so much older than a lot of the trees here that I've experienced. However, there is a tree here that I go to every day. So trees are my big connection these days, but just the amazing interconnectedness that they have and wisdom, with each other underground. And of course, this woman who owns the house where I go visit this tree every day. This tree is like amazing. It has this face, and she said you come to my tree every day, don't you? And I was like, yeah, it's a pretty amazing tree. She said, yeah, it was an acorn during Beethoven time. And I was like, wow. And I just, there's so much wisdom that I gain every day. I stop by every day. Really, I know it's a she, but I really, ask permission to enter her space. And then I usually, release whatever I need to that morning, and then receive whatever guidance that wants to be imparted. And like I said, most people would think I'm woo woo, but it's been the most beautiful experience of my life to connect with trees. They're just, they are here giving us life every moment of the day. And again, the way that most of our culture deals with them as these like annoying things that they need to cut down so they can build their house or whatever. It's amazing to me. Yeah, the
Yeah.
respect for that land. But yeah, really quickly, when I was in a ceremony with Tati, and she's using the shamanic tools, and I'm learning along the way, and I was like, why do you use like rocks like instead of your hand? And she says, because they have, like you said, they have more wisdom. They've been here much longer. They have a lot more wisdom. and that's definitely my learning curve right now, because being a body worker and everything, I was using my body, but to then connect with these different the wisdom of the different, like you said, the rocks and the plants, has transformed my life.
Do you do any journey work?
Yeah.
I would say, to
Yeah.
help you connect better with them, do some journey work and, just try to connect with one stone at a time
Yeah.
and just have it in your hand while you journey with the intention of meeting the spirit of that stone and connecting with it and
Yeah.
seeing what it shows you. That's a really good way to learn more about each stone. That's what I've been slowly working through when I'm like, I want to learn more about you. All right, let's sit down and, focus on just that.
Yeah, I definitely carry my stones around with me, and I work with my pendulum a lot. I was given this amazing serpentine stone when I was in Cornwall in September. Um, it's only comes from that area of the world. It's this amazing stone, and I really feel called. Thank you for reminding me that I need to take the time to connect with that. Um, that wisdom, because it's pretty that place, if you haven't been, Cornwall, is
That's
amazing.
in Cornwall in England.
Yeah, it's that southwestern tip. It's pretty
Okay.
phenomenal. Anyway,
Yeah, I've been in Harrogate, Leeds, London. I don't think I've ever made it to Cornwall though. But that was
Avery is a must. Glastonbury, Avery. The land there is unreal. It is so, I send pictures and my friends are like, are you in Game of Thrones or, like Lord of the Rings? And it's like, it's there, you can't help but feel that when you're there. It's just, and the energy of Avery is just the spiritual energy there. It's this 6,000-year-old stone circle that they don't know who conceived it. And it's so incredible. Yeah. Anyway.
I definitely check it out. My wife and I have been talking about taking the kids over to Europe maybe this fall, so that maybe we'll go there. We're still trying to determine if we want to visit family or actually do something for ourselves.
Well, I highly recommend the say we're doing a sacred sites tour the end of August. But yeah, it's profound, and I just it's transformative. Yeah.
So when you do the ceremonies in Ecuador, are you using plant medicine? Are you using the Kobo? What type of ceremonies are they?
Well, there's several ones. What Tati and I are doing are kind of mixing. Like, I was a breath work. I've done breath work. So obviously, since we're in Ecuador, it's primarily Andean ceremonies. It depends on the moment, but we definitely work with San Pedro and grandmother, and sometimes other plant medicines. We also go to sacred sites there too. And we combine other like modalities, like she does like ancestral family constellations,
Okay.
which obviously brings awareness to certain things, which helps in the ceremony. So there's kind of like this weaving of Western and ancient in our work together. Yeah. So, but definitely we do. Usually the Temescal is a San Pedro Temescal, and then we definitely have a grandmother ceremony as well, and then there's oftentimes one or two more. Yeah, it just kind of depends on she's she's very great at listening to what is intended. Yeah, I'm learning that. So.
And then do you guys do you have like a website where people can check you out if they wanted to come down and try it, or is it
Yeah, yeah. I mean, basically, it would depth integration, the website, Instagram. There's postings of that. There's if I think if someone wants to, if it's easiest to go to Instagram depth integration, then there's like kind of a link tree which has all the things I'm involved in that has the links to them, or obviously the depthintegration.com. Is where I've listed that, and there's a landing page for the retreat in Ecuador, and also the experience and pilgrimage in the UK this summer.
That's what I was going to ask you next with the UK stuff. So I'm just curious how you guys do those soul level experiences. What would be an expectation for somebody going into it? Or I'm just curious how you do that
Very
work.
similar,
Right.
well, very similar to we created this particular experience, the Radical Radiant Soul Remembrance, which is a 3-day in service to Earth, humanity, and Source. And so the first day is Tati will be there as well, and as well as an amazing woman from Ireland, and an amazing there are just some incredible people that are going to be there leading these group experiences where we're going to work with connecting to the earth, the water, the fire, then with our own humanity, our bodies, our hearts, and our voice, and then to the unseen world or the spirit world, the last day. The intention is to, like what I was saying earlier, is to support people as we, the quote that I loved best from the Ascension Manual, I think, is Ascension is not like going up; it's the soul coming down into the body. And so, it's if we live from a soul level, like we were talking about earlier, we sense more, we feel more, we know more in a multidimensional way. So, how to then incorporate that into your life to live, to not only create work that's that way of compassion and connection, but relationships, families, things like that. So it's mostly supporting leadership in all of us standing up in a ceremony in our spot in the circle, fully, completely, because you have a blueprint that nobody else has, that is needed to be in its full expression for the full expression of a new world to take place, right? It's the new world's really already here, right? It's just if we're going to connect with it and create it, co-create it in a quicker way. But there's so many people like us, right? And it's developing that connection. So let me say it in a practical way. It's for artists, creators, leaders, and mostly holistic entrepreneurs, to integrate soul level consciousness into their creations, work, and relationships. And so that being unconditional love, compassion, power. And so we do that with these group experiences, which will be music, movement, breath. And then what's unique about this particular experience is that then we break into smaller pods, and each experience is then integrated. So say, for instance, Tati teaches people how to connect with the earth. Then the small pods will go around and connect with this incredible land there at Blenheim. And then we'll connect with the water. There's this amazing lake. We're on this bluff that's right over this incredible lake with the Harry Potter tree, and there's trees that are along it, and the birds there are just amazing. So it's mostly connecting to the land, remembering why you came here, and then receiving the support to live your fullest expression of your soul, your high. I don't like the word highest, but maybe your true potential. And if we all support each other in doing that, wow.
That sounds great, actually. How do you handle the integration for the after the event or after the ceremony? I find a lot of times that's lacking.
Yeah.
People will hold these life-changing ceremonies or these life-changing events, but then there's never any follow-up. They go back to their old lives. They feel great for 2 weeks, and then
exactly. I mean, that's why we created Radical Radiance, and I don't want to keep harping on that, but that's exactly why we created it, and that's exactly why the integration is happening as you go, and will continue afterwards with our support groups, our classes, and all that kind of stuff that we are creating. So it's this kind of ecosystem of support that doesn't stop there, because you do a retreat, like a really deep retreat, you purge, you release a lot. The last day, you're standing there in the light, and it's like, see you, bye. And yes, with Tati in my retreats, I conduct an integration session as a part when they get home, is a part of the whole package. So it's definitely majorly important to me. But yeah, you're right. It's like, especially as Westerners, I think we crave these experiences, and yet then it's not integrated into our daily lives, and that's what's missing as far as this real change happening, I feel. And so what you touched on there is really one of the cornerstones of why we're creating it in this way, so that it's sustainable, and that releasing and purging has a really important role, and so does the ability to stay in joy, and the ability to stay in love, and the ability to then, how do you integrate that into your life? What do you need to remember? How do you need to align, to sustain that, right? Or to enhance that each day. And it's not easy, and we all need support with that. And so, I love that you brought that up. That is, I'm so in alignment with what you're saying. That's why it's.
I've done it myself. I'm not trying to say I'm perfect either. I've seen it happen. Like, people just don't think about it, right? It's that integration is important after everything. After every healing session, there's got to be some homework for the, at least my point of view, for the homework for the client that I'm working with. Like something to keep reinforcing their journey, their healing. Because if they don't, then it's, it didn't work for me. I felt good for 2 weeks and nothing stuck. It's like, because you went back to the old patterns.
That's the natural process of expansion, right? You get to a certain level of awareness, and everything that's in the way of that, love, you get to a certain level of love, anything that's in the way of that staying there is going to rise. Mm-hmm. And so, we need to support people in that ability to integrate and actually to welcome that resistance, because it's needing to be seen to actually move through. Gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's so essential.
And it's not even the resistance to wanting the change, but it's also the environment in which they came from, right? It's going back to that same dead-end job that you hated. And maybe Mama Aya was like, this isn't your path, you need to do something else, but you need to pay the bills, right? So it's like, you can't go and be the artist making no money right off the bat. You got to find a way to do both. And then you might not have time for it, because you might have to work 2 or 3 jobs, take care of 2 kids by yourself, and then still try to get spiritually enlightened, right? we're all stuck in this. I mean, people call it a prison planet, but I consider sometimes it is a prison system that we feel like we're trapped in because we're so focused on the day to day that we can't see what's possible and what could be. We're just stuck in survival mode.
Right. And you know, the one more thing I want to say about that. Um, I was talking to a shaman after one of my experiences in Ecuador, and I said I feel like it's my duty to bring this back, what I experienced here, to this earth. So it's even more than a personal integration. To me, it's to be of service. And so, and not everybody's, that's not everybody's thing, but for me, that ability to integrate that amount of unconditional love, right, that amount of forgiveness into my daily life, and to if I stop it myself, then I think I'm missing the point. It's to be of service to others too. That's my way. So
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the calling you're following, right? And that's the calling you're like, this is my path, this is my purpose. But I want to go back to our initial conversation where even if you're working on just yourself, you're still helping everyone around you without even realizing it.
No, it always
Has to
begins.
start with you, yeah.
It always begins there for sure. I'm just saying that if we just if then the result is only personal, then we're missing the interconnectedness and oneness that we got from the ceremony, right? Or that we got from whatever experience. And so then how do you integrate that? How do you integrate that almost egolessness into who you, it's such a dichotomy, right? That egolessness into who you are fully. But yeah, that's kind of
getting rid of the ego, but you're still the I am.
right.
You're still I am because you are.
Yeah.
But that ego is like that separate, almost overseer trying to force the I am to be something more than it needs to be.
Yep.
For attention or glory or I don't know. It's and it comes and it can come out in different ways too, because I have those conversations with people too of, oh, I can never change. It's like, all right, well, do you want to? Do you really want to change, or do you enjoy whatever it is you're getting out of this that you're getting? When people, and I'm not trying to criticize, but when people want to lose weight, but then they don't do anything to change it. And then when you really get down deep with them, it's like, oh no, me staying overweight is my safety mechanism because when I was in high school, my father did something to me. And it's just my way of making myself look ugly to others. Or I dress a certain way to not show my body off for that reason, or any number of things. Being sick gives me the attention from other people that I don't think would normally give me attention. And that becomes that parts work too, not just the ego, but parts work.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother.
There's a whole other journey.
Another layer to the onion of healing. One thing I do like to ask people is if you could give somebody one piece of advice who's just starting out, what is it that you would tell, I don't know, even your younger self? Like, what would you let them know?
Well, I mean, what's coming up for me is trust. That's been a really challenging one for me to embody. Trust in my guides, trust in my guidance, trust in what I know, trust in my feelings. trust, but mostly trust in spirit. Um, I don't know if that's advice. It's
I think it is. I think that's very good advice, to be honest.
good. Yeah, because yeah, without that,
I think that's one of the biggest blockages people have, right? Is they don't trust the experience that's happening to them. Like you said, they might be getting in some intuition or some insight, and that could really be their guide saying, "Hey, you should do this or don't do this," but they don't trust it. They don't listen to it. They think it's just some self-doubt or ego talking, or whichever way you want to take it. So I mean, and it's hard to want to trust what you can't verify, right? Especially in the beginning. So I
well,
think
yeah,
that
we're of course we're brought up that way, right? Yeah, and how can you how can you prove this miraculous planet and this this universe that we can't even in our small part of our brain comprehend its size, its infinity, right? I mean, it's like
and then all the different realms of things that we can't even see, but we just know we're there. That's a whole another.
yeah,
It's just this massive. I mean, again, science is catching up. Physics is now admitting there's multiple realities and different realms of existence, but it's, we as humans, we have known this for thousands of years. We just somehow lost the knowledge or decided to
yeah,
forget.
yeah. My friend Tati says we forgot.
Yeah.
It's like she knows this doctor in Argentina that sends the energy of the tincture to his patient and they receive it. And that's the new frontier, right? But apparently it's old knowledge. But that is what really excites me of that possibility uh, of um, of becoming multidimensionally aware and aligned and uh, embodied, I guess. Yeah.
I think we're getting, and I mean, technology is good and bad, but I mean, even now it's, we're having conversations over great distances. I work on clients through great distances. I've
Exactly.
worked with their energy without even talking to them. It's all possible.
Yeah, I think COVID definitely really sparked that ability in many of us, right? That we weren't. Some of us were resistant to it at the beginning, but yeah, it did open that ability to do that and to remember that ability, right? Yeah, yeah. So good, so good.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. I'll put everything in the show notes too for people, but you
Sure.
want to promote your book one more time for people, let them know
Or
retreat dates that are coming up.
it's called Rooted Soul. And it's weaving sacred threads and conscious embodiment into oneness. And it's recently out on all the different platforms. And yeah, I, yeah, it's still kind of like, wow, that happened. And then, yeah, the Embodied Heart Retreat is March 4th. No, I'm sorry, I leave the 4th, March 8th through the 15th in Ecuador. And then Radical Radiant Soul Remembrance is August 11th through the 13th in Oxfordshire, UK. And then a day or two later, I think it's the 15th through the 21st, a few of us lead a sacred pilgrimage to Avery, Stonehenge, Glastonbury, and Mystery Site. So, and that will be an opportunity for people to connect more deeply to the sacred land of England, and it's pretty amazing there. So, yeah. So I appreciate your time. This has really been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if something our guests shared resonated with you, connect out to them. That's what these stories are here for. And if you're looking for deeper healing or support, you can always find me at pnwshamanichealing.com. See you in the next episode.